And we're gonna, so there's a lot of people actually using conviction voting live right now, which is really exciting, and it's perfect for the Token Engineering Commons implementation. So in the agenda, let me share my screen. I want to show off two versions of it. So there's onehive.org, who has their honeypot. This is probably more like what we want to do because it's on XDAI and everything is ready to go.
Somebody just wrote that he never came back to.
Who do I need to mute? I think it's
me, probably.
Yeah.
Let me do that. Give me a sec.
Thanks, man. So OneHive has this really slick interface where they can give kind of the relevant stats for conviction voting. And what's really cool with what has been going on with Aragon is that they're allowing people to use their tech as the back end and design their own custom front end for a nice, smooth user experience. So if people want to vote, they come in here, they look at a proposal, and they can actually vote here if you enable your account. But I want to also show off the one that was just launched today that actually has some proposals up so that we can look at the next iteration of what's happening with conviction voting, where now they have an abstain proposal, and here's an Aragon Academy. And so like what they do with conviction voting here is they actually have an effective supply. So if you don't like any of the votes, any of the options here, you can abstain and you can vote for the abstain. And then that would effectively raise the requirements for all the other proposals. But I want to open with this because first off, it was Livia's idea, and I thought it was a good one to kind of show us an example of a user interface that people need to interact with, and then kind of talk about how, as a group, how we need to organize a culture to actually interact with this interface effectively. Because if we just have people, come into this website, it doesn't mean anything, and you may not even know how to use it. How do you create a proposal? How do you do all these things? And what does it even mean? And so to kind of kick this call off and get everyone talking, I'm curious about how everyone is currently envisioning our culture working with the token engineering community on using the Token Engineering Commons in practice. So I'm going to pass it to Livia to start it off, and then we'll just pass it around.
Thanks. Yeah, I think it's super important, the cultural build process, especially the decision making and how we share things that we're working on, because in the platform, what we're doing is just the last process that is actually voting or selecting things or moving the resources. But what comes before that, I think, is the biggest part of what makes us confident that we're making a good decision. So I'm happy that we're working on the decision making now that it's really early to see how this culture is running along the way. And I'll pass to Jeff.
Jeff,
Muted.
continue, I guess.
Better?
Yeah.
Now it's better, yeah.
Yes. So sorry, recap the question, what we're most excited about for the Token Engineering Commons?
The question is, how do you imagine the culture of the Token Engineering Commons actually interfacing with a DAO to decide on how to fund things using conviction voting?
Right.
And what are the important aspects of the cultural part?
Yeah, totally. So I'm involved in a couple of different communities that seem to be like circling around the same idea. So I think I mentioned this a couple days ago with the CIC potluck, which is like kind of the way Will Ruddock is going around in Kenya and getting all the stakeholders in a room and saying, how are we going to decide to like accept and use this currency? They're definitely taking a little bit of a different route with less emphasis on like mission, vision, values, the cultural side, and more focusing on like what each person is willing to like put up or receive for a token. So I'm really happy to see these kind of like different flavors of the cultural build coming out. And I think what I'm really excited about in the token engineering community is the focus on like group direction and cohesion, because that's what I'm seeing as sort of like a tripping point in some other communities is like what is our ultimate mission? What is the thing that keeps us as a group, as a community? And I think that will help to streamline the proposal process so that we don't get things that are left, right, and all over the place, which I believe was one of the things that was happening in Genesis DAO, and Livia can definitely speak much more to that. I think that was one of the things that came up in your report from that. So I'm really excited to see the token engineering community kind of coalescing around a vision and a direction before getting into like, here are the proposals and here are the funds for those proposals, so that we have a direction together. And I will pass to Angela.
Okay, I filtered. Okay, good question. I mean, what's puzzling me at the moment is that on one hand, our community is, I think, as any and every community, we are in a part of a much larger ecosystem and a various ecosystem, and that is also, well, setting the agenda in a way, and people are reacting on that, and what is what feels most relevant to them. And at the moment, with another DeFi bubble and FOMO, you feel okay. Totally new dynamics around token engineering as well. This is what I experience, and on one hand, new people coming in, new expectations and opinions coming in, and on the other hand, so how to maintain a certain, how to maintain the vision and at the same time react on this really very changing dynamic topics that are coming up every single month, day, week. And that's something I'm puzzled with at the moment without having any idea how to deal with it. And then not only being just being driven by hypes, but rather maintain substantial output and a substantial mission. Okay, next one. There's an empty chair, Dalbury. Okay, Dalbury, do you want to go next?
I lost track a bit, so what I'm...
That's the reason. Yeah, okay.
Sure, I can repeat it. The idea is that how do we're going to use conviction voting to distribute funds, but how do we want to create a culture that is going to use this tool in a very beneficial way? Or what are some aspects of the culture that we want to make sure are there, or general ideas on using culture to guide the use of a tool, this tool?
I haven't studied much organization, and my intuitive sense might be a bit skewed, but I would think, at least intuitively, that the culture is rather derived from the use than the other way around. I think the use is the first aspect, out of which then the culture comes. The incentives created will generate a specific culture, which will then establish itself, rather than the other way around. Since the tool is more restricted than we are, I think the culture will be based on those tools rather than the other way around. If that makes sense.
No, I think that's it's a very valuable point. Do you want to pass it to someone?
Okay, who knows the most about these things here?
Well, everyone has to talk, whether they like it or not. So
I don't know. This is my first time joining, so I don't know the people yet.
well, let's pass it to Jessica then.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Silvery. Thanks, Griff. Welcome, Delvery. Nice to have you. Yeah, I would agree a lot with everything that's been said, and kind of watching so many groups that want to build in this direction, but as we figure out how to coordinate, I would say this group for me as well, I would agree with Jeff, is definitely seems to be the most organized and is like this ball of like energy and value and possibility. And now we just have to figure out how to like harness that. So to your point, Griff, of like, how does this actually come together? The tools are, I'm blown away. I saw One Hive a couple of months back, and now seeing Aragon integrating it so fast, it feels like it's really, really got this momentum to it. So I'd say getting a little specific for the details and how do people look at this and know how to use it. I think just a very simple like UI UX overlay, like any software kind of walks you through like, here is this and here's this. Of course, I actually am finishing finally editing the One Hive walkthrough. So I think like some like walkthrough tutorials and like somebody, probably Livy, to be like onboarding people and have a process for that, a very clear onboarding process, and then maybe organizing the proposals into sections. This is one thing that's come out of the Community Currency Alliance that I think is super clear. Like there's 3 super simple things, like, or 4: framework, education, like tech and legal or something, you know, that we have these super clear, because otherwise it's like proposals kind of all over the place. So if we have these very focused working groups, and I think it's natural as well, like, you know, Angela and Shebnem and I see already like love education, and Livy as well with her background. And so like having clear onboarding process, these little maybe tech UI UX front facing things, setting clear expectations is really important. And I think there's a lot more freedom in this group and how we will trust and how we will allow this, because we're so decentralized, like more freedom to create. But there will, of course, as always, be expectations in any relationship, whether it's with one person or 50 people. So I think part of that in the cultural build is really important. The working groups aligning. And then, so yeah, I mean, I could lay out some of these in a document or something, but just off the top of my head and hearing all the discussion, but overall, like very impressed with how the process has been so far. And it seems very clear, like very focused versus many other groups in like, I think it's easy that we're all aligning because we have this common thread already. So I think it won't be too much, just if we start to get some clarity and flesh out what are these very like easy short-term goals that we can all align around and start to form these groups. So thank you, and I will pass to, has Dee gone?
No, I think Dog still needs to go. Hey, Dog.
Dog.
Dog, yeah, apparently this is still surprising. You can call me David, it's fine. Dog is just a concatenation of first and last name. It's a bit more compact. But thanks for bringing me up, Jessica. I actually want to connect to something that you have mentioned, and it's about this clear onboarding process. What's really important to me when it comes to launching any kind of distributed organization is to just ensure that this feeling of being inclusive that is really, really there, you can literally feel it before something is launched. You know, everyone's getting hyped up. There's a lot of communication, there's a lot of buzz between the people that are going to participate in something. And what I've been through a few times, and I guess this has also been experienced by a few of the others in the call, is that when it comes to launch, you know, time seems to compress at the very beginning, just before launch. And I have noticed of several times that some people simply, you know, drop off for whatever reason. I don't know why, but sometimes it's just this, it's like everyone has to jump and some people don't make the jump. And I would really like to find a way or a means to address this, that to make sure that more people just make the jump. And when it comes to launching the conviction voting as a feature, as a main mechanism, I think some sort of way to just stretch time instead of compressing it right before we get to do the first things would be this is like this loose idea that I have in my head, to just kind of ensure that we bring more people in instead of just turning on all the features right at the very first second. And whether this is connected to, actually voting on hard things, and by hard things I mean contentious stuff. No, not even that. Anything that's really tied to any tangible financial value right at the very beginning. I'm not sure we should do that at the very beginning. This is kind of an idea that I have at the moment. Kind of have like a soft launch and then like a hard launch, maybe. This is just one of my inputs.
Love it. Soft launch and hard launch. Great ideas. I think there's only one person left. Oh no, we lost them. Dan, just in your moment to shine. Okay. Well, then that's it. So thank you guys thank you, Olivia, for taking notes. And I think Jess might be in there too. Love the multi-note taking. It's really good. So next on the agenda, actually, what I want to do, we're settling on a general format for this call, which is really fun, where we the first thing is the opener that we just did, and now we do a quick little roadmap review to say where we're going. This is the plan. We're going straight to the goal for sure. So we are currently still kind of refining our incentive design and recruitment approach. And this week, we're hoping to work on making agreements and documenting the internal and external communication, the meeting facilitation style and tools, as well as how do we fund the remainder of the cultural build. So that's kind of the topics for this week. After that, next week we're going to do work on starting a roles process. So that's where we're headed. And of course, if you want to see more of the roadmap, this is a working document that might be changing as we move, but of course, feel free to join and add to it. So it also, if you have the other thing that we're working on in kind of a new structure is proposals. Proposals have taken Token Engineering Commons by storm. We are basically turning into kind of a proposal machine, so that when decisions need to be made, they're generally documented in proposals. And if you guys have any proposals that you think of that you're like, oh, we should do this as the token engineering community for the Token Engineering Commons, at the end here, there's kind of in actions this week, just add a note that says, new proposal, blah, 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 right? And you just write it right there. And that way we can at least address it at the end of the call. So in the middle of this call, what we're doing is discussing the proposals that are active right now and kind of giving a review. The goal is not to have discussions about the proposals per se in this call or to make decisions, but actually to focus on clarifying questions, any questions that you have about the proposal that don't seem crystal clear, and then any discussion ideally goes into the proposal itself. So the first proposal that we have that's active is decision making. Livia, do you want to share screen and discuss your proposal?
Sure, yeah. Maybe I'll go through it just because I don't know if everyone had a chance to look at it yet.
The link is at the top of the agenda, by the way, if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, so last week, Griff and I had two different proposals. I had one proposal based on the discussions we had in the chat and on the previous call. And then Griff forked it kind of to make an example, a meta example of how we could work with proposal making. And then we decided to merge them both together to make it easier and more detailed. So what is different now is we added an advice process and a more detailed fork process. So for the proposal making, we want to see the do-ocracy culture happening in the TEC. where new proposals emerge whenever someone identifies a problem or opportunity and takes the initiative to work on it. So the person who took the initiative will become the doc owner, and the responsibility of the doc owner is to evaluate who is going to be affected by this proposal and who are the experts on the proposed subject. So it's the responsibility of the proponent to seek advice from these people, to inform them that they were selected to be the advisors, and then to incorporate the feedbacks they will receive according to their own discernment. So they don't have to incorporate all the feedbacks. And of course, alongside the advice process, everyone is welcome and encouraged to give feedbacks, and all the documents, work documents, should be always available in the chat, and preferably for everyone to look at it or to give feedbacks before our Thursday sync, so we don't need to spend much time like going through all the proposal in our calls. And then the fork idea is that if anyone that suggested changes, it can be the advisors or not, or people that weren't called but gave feedbacks. And if they think their feedback is super important and wasn't integrated in the best way, they can fork the proposal. And Shabnan gave a really good feedback last week that it was a bit confusing to have two very similar proposals when Griff made a fork. So now we're proposing to have the fork as a paragraph explaining the proposed changes, or if it's something more detailed, to have another document explaining everything, but linked to the original proposal. So it helps the coherence to see everything in the same place, and everything about that subject will live in the main proposal document. And then the voting process. So once the advice process is finished, the proponent will share the proposal in the TE Commons voting channel. Thanks, Angela, for making the channel. And this channel should only be populated with voting polls, so we don't get lost and we can track all the decisions that are being made. And and then during the weekend, proposals will be there to be voted on, and they should contain like a brief description, the link of the proposal, a signal for yes, neutral, and block. And then you guys can read here what are the parameters that we thought about for the voting. And then at the end of the weekend, we would have a decision on Monday that would be shared in the main chat. And that's it.
So any clarifying questions? Anybody have any questions about the need to be clear on decision making?
So for now, it's one person, one vote.
Yep. It's one Discord handle, one vote. If you want a Sybil attack, hey, you know, we need better tools. But okay, cool. If you guys have any comments on the decision-making process, it's going to go for a vote on Friday. We're kind of like, it's a little bit holographic here in Fractal, where it's like, oh, we're deciding on a decision process and we're using the same decision process to decide on it. So, you know, we'll see how that works out. But the votes will happen on Friday. So comment today or tomorrow morning, and before the votes go up. So next proposal is incentive alignment. This is a really fun one because, hey, we're in the token engineering space, right? So let's talk about some tokens. The end goal with this proposal is to make sure that we don't fall into the trap of expecting free contributions. People who are working hard should be rewarded for their work, and most importantly, acknowledged for their work. So, and that's kind of where we break up this proposal into two steps. There's how do we acknowledge the people who are doing good work, and how do we capture the fact that good work has happened, and then how do we reward the good work after it's happened. This is a relatively complicated proposal, but I have the TLDR here, and that's kind of where I'm going to stay. Although I'm very open to getting into the weeds in the clarifying questions. So the strategy for acknowledgement is basically what the Commons Stack is already doing and has been working well, is dishing praise. So whenever someone does something well, people who want to be watchers for praise, they have the power to dish praise and just say, hey, I dish praise to this person for doing this work. It's a very flexible way to kind of account for anything that anybody sees that helped the token engineering commons. And we don't need to do a token or anything like that. We'll just dish praise and it will be recorded by a bot in a spreadsheet. The big piece here is we have to define a boundary process for what is, and create clear expectations, as I think Dog was saying during the early round, about what is worthy of praise. Like, does the working on the Token Engineering Academy, is that worthy of praise, even though it's not the token cred, even though it's not the Token Engineering Commons? Probably. And Angela made a really good comment here about using a tiered system and having some sort of like concentric circles of like what's obvious work on the Token Engineering Commons, what's kind of supplemental, and then what's kind of peripheral but still supports the Token Engineering Commons. So we'll need to figure this out, and this will be if this proposal passes, we will detail that boundary process out afterwards. So that's the acknowledgement side. And on the reward side, so hold your thoughts. If you have a question, just hold it for a second and write it down or something. But on the reward side, we're going to do two different styles of rewards. Number one is just the normal style, where we go raise money and we pay people for the work that they're doing. Certain things require money, so we have to go get money to get it done. This would be like dev work, audits, and maybe some people individually need funding to provide the value that we need. So we're going to use Gitcoin grants for sure, and we're also going to use Giveth probably for distributing the funds. At least that's what I would propose. And with Aragon doing this conviction voting DAO, I feel like we should probably get a proposal out there to see if we can get some funding for our Token Engineering Commons work. The second version of reward is much more exciting though. This is where we take the fact that we are building a token economy, and that's what we're working on. And so we can kind of allocate funds that we're hoping to raise to the people who are doing the work to make sure that we have a good culture. This is a relatively complicated system that I'm proposing. But I can sum it up pretty simply. Basically, we would set a minimum amount that we want to raise for the Token Engineering Commons, and we also set a minimum dollars per hour for the people who are contributing. And so when we're tracking praise and acknowledging praise, we would also track kind of approximate hours that people put in. And this would be subjective, it wouldn't be perfect, and really these hours would be more like impact hours. And when we're quantifying praise, we would everyone would get so many creds, and that cred would turn into dollars per hour at the end of the hatch. And people would actually receive what we're calling a cultural build tribute, where let's say we raise $100,000, and that's like the lowest end of what we would raise. Then 10% of that money, $10,000, would be $10,000 of that would actually be used to give the people who participate in the cultural build tokens from the hash. So depending on exactly how those tokens are quantified, it will likely be much more than $10,000 worth of tokens the way the hatch works. So it'll be like putting $20 of DAI into the hatch, and then you'll receive probably $40 worth of tokens for that, for every hour of impact that you had. It's kind of complicated, I know. So it would be really great if people could come in here and read this. And Angela made a lot of really great comments, and I would hope that there's kind of this spreadsheet that implements a very simple version of how we could do this, so that the percent of the hatch tribute goes down the more funds that are raised, and the hourly rate goes up for the cultural contributors the more funds that are raised, so that the hatch raise, the amount of funds that we are able to collect from people who want to see the token engineering commons succeed, the more funds we raise here, the better it is for the people contributing, and the better it is for the people who put in work for the cultural build. So yeah, I'll stop talking. What do you guys think? Clarifying questions? None? Okay, that's cool. Surprising. And, oh wait, did you have one, Dalberry? No? Okay, so then I would say, please, this is a pretty critical proposal, and I would love more feedback on it. If you guys have a chance today, I understand. If not, we're still going to put it for a vote. If you want, when things go for a vote, you can block it and say, no, I need more time to review,
Actually,
yeah.
one question. I'm sorry, when you say cred, you mean source cred or?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's source cred-like. It's not going to be a real token. It would just be cred on a spreadsheet. It's like you earned cred, right, in the token engineering commons by doing good work. It's the same idea of the acknowledgement of work. And then, and it is very much following the source cred model of like, and then, so once you have this cred, then you get grain. But in this case, the grain is token engineering commons tokens.
And side note, I'm going to send you the coolest tip bot I've ever seen from Virus. It has you can make it rain on all the people and all this kind of stuff. So I'm going to send you some screenshots in case we want to make a fancy tip bot in all of your endless time.
Okay, that sounds great.
Because it's nice because actually that, you can get this kind of momentum going of sharing the abundance with everybody. And I think it's good for the culture to kind of have this different options with sharing your cred.
Yeah, but I'm super excited to look at it after this. So then let's, if there's no questions, then let's move on to the next proposal, which is Livia.
Yeah, I actually don't think we need to spend much time on it, but let me just quickly go through. Yeah, so we thought it would be very helpful to have some communication guidelines to make it easier, all the collaboration we're having internally, and possibly a way of communicating externally too. So for our Thursday calls, as it was already mentioned by Griff, this is not the best place to make decisions. It's mostly for questions, removing blockers, and getting data input, especially things that could turn into new proposals and that we can work with out of the calls. So the calls agenda will be always shared in the Commons Discord in advance. Here there is a calendar invite that you can put in your calendar to always have a reminder. And the advice process communication is that whenever you're sharing a proposal on Discord, and after you did the evaluation for who are the people that are going to give advice to your proposal, these people should be tagged. So you let them know that they are going to be giving advice. So they have the chance to opt out, to say, I don't want to give advice to this proposal. And they can either do that or delegate someone else to give advice in their instead of them, or they can jump straight into the document and gather, put their feedback. And the best place to gather feedback is inside of the proposal, to facilitate the integration and for everyone to have a whole view of everyone's inputs. So discussions and questions can be held in the Discord chat, but they can also happen inside the doc. So the more things that happen in the proposal, the better. And then these are our channels. The Discord channel is great for announcements, to share proposals, questions, discussions, and share discussion starters, relevant articles, resources. And then the voting channel, like I mentioned before, is only for voting. And then for external communication, we propose that if the incentive alignment proposal passes, then we would track the contributions every 2 weeks and share them in a Medium newsletter, so people can know what is going on with the cultural build and how are the contributions, who and how are the contributions happening.
Great, thanks, Livia. Does anyone have any clarifying questions? Nice. So we are so clear today. It's like blue skies. Okay, so then let's move on to the next section, which is actions of the week. So we might actually end this call early. That's great. So let me share a screen. So there are the last section of this call. Every sync call is the proposed is that we go over action items for the week. So generally, Livy and I are kind of the fallback for doing all the work. So congrats, But if anyone wants to take on any of these proposals or action items, feel free to steal them from Livy and I. You will, assuming the incentive alignment proposal passes, you will earn cred and be lavishly dished praise for contributing to this, which will earn you cred. And assuming the Token Engineering Commons actually launches and we raise funds, then you will get kind of it's not a free ride. You will have earned your spot to be making decisions over the funds that we put in there. So the first, there's some new proposals. So who put this one? Alignment Gitcoin grants.
It's me. I realized that September 16th, I think, the next Gitcoin grants round is starting. And I think we should discuss how we want to pitch TE Comms and TE Academy and the TE book and so on, since I think I'm just trying to look from outside and see, okay, is it a good idea to have a lot of token engineering grants proposals on Gitcoin grants, or rather combine it all in one and then have a stronger value proposition? And I'd love to have your opinion on that. And then, of course, we need to see how we will promote it and communicate it.
I love that idea, Angela. Actually, we have been discussing, and I have a note to have a meeting September 7, but we can do it earlier so we have some more time to build a kind of campaign. And we also are in the background, amongst all the other work, organizing a kind of Twitter cartel, as Griff calls it, to make it sound more exciting. Okay. Because we have access to so many different groups, Twitter handles in the ecosystem, we're trying to align around pooling resources and starting to build like the strategy docs so anyone can jump in and help us to kind of like retweet everybody. So I think there's a lot of alignment there. So I'm happy to work with you on that if you want to schedule a meeting.
Oh, yeah, cool.
And anyone else to kind of, get those like clear goals and a little campaign. I don't think it'll take too much time, but we can come up with a plan for that. I'm happy to help you and work on that.
Yeah, we can catch up as soon as possible, perhaps even earlier, before September 7.
Yeah, that sounds great. Definitely count me in. And sounds good. Okay. Well, let's.
A quick comment on the Gitcoin. Like, do we submit multiple proposals or one proposal? I think just based on how like funds are accumulated quadratically, it is probably a good strategy to have more than one proposal.
Yeah.
And then just maybe listing it as like TE proposal 1, TE proposal 2, TE proposal 3. I'm not sure. I'm open to discussion on this, but I'm just thinking about in terms of like if someone gives $1 to each and that's quadratically matched, that's way better than someone giving $3 to one.
Yeah.
I totally agree. Mechanism wise.
I want to try to avoid too much details in these sync calls because they're better written down in a proposal. So yeah. Sorry to interrupt. Trying to build cultural ideas. Anyway, another one is along with Gitcoin grants, and maybe a good opportunity to kind of speed up our, as Jeff had mentioned, kind of another opportunity to speed up our syncing on this is to also maybe make some Aragon conviction voting proposals for the Token Engineering Commons and maybe other token engineering groups as well. And does anyone, I was thinking of leading this up. Of course, anyone can take it from me, but basically the idea would be to take our Gitcoin grants that we want to make and actually put them on the Aragon conviction funding pilot and see if we can score some of these funds, because if I remember right, there is $90,000 or something sitting there for proposals that support the Aragon ecosystem. And if we're I think everything we're doing in token engineering is supporting the Aragon ecosystem.
What's the deadline?
Well, with conviction voting, it's kind of sooner is better than later because conviction builds over time. So the best bet is there's no hard deadline. Well, the hard deadline would probably be within the next 2 weeks, but the sooner the better.
Yeah, I would say if that's an interest of the community, like getting it up this week would be great because it's only a 6-week pilot, and the proposals that are in early and gathering conviction will have conviction voting is like as an ongoing algorithm is quite different than as a 6-week pilot. So the sooner the better for funds through the conviction voting, conviction funding pilot.
Does anyone, I'm definitely going to take this on. Unless someone steals it from me, but does anyone want me to loop them in on it when I make kind of a work session to hack on it?
I have a proposal, template that we put together for the data analysis. So I'm happy to share that with you and work maybe async. I have a couple other things to do today, but I'm happy to work with you on it, Griff. It'll have to be next week because I'm headed to celebrate Lorelai's birthday and taking a 3-day weekend. So sadly.
So let's try. Yeah, I'd be super interested, but having the same problem. So Monday the earliest that I could make, but I don't want to delay anything.
No, of course. If I'm leading it, I can't start it until Monday, and probably honestly even Tuesday because there'll be so much going on since usually I get a lot of work done on the weekends. But but I will loop people in async, and I really value async work. So
if I know the kind of like content, I can take Jeff's template and just like start it, like just put a few bullet points or.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm not quite sure what we want to focus on, but anyway, he's got the template, so it'll be easy to just start it, and then we can do a work session on Monday. Or
that would
Jeff and I can work on a template and send you the link to put in any final details, and we can get it up as soon as possible.
That would be incredible. That sounds great.
I can work with Jess tomorrow also if you have it free.
Mhm.
We can start it before Monday.
Okey-doke. Then we can finalize it in a group work session Monday.
This is fantastic. Okay, so then it sounds like I will just be advising, and it sounds like Jess and Livia are probably going to be taking it on because I'm slow. Okay, so then let's move on to the next one, and assuming that so the next two, the rest of them are kind of more assigned to our roadmap, the things that we know we need to do according to the plan. So we need, if the incentive alignment proposal passes, we need to start working on the boundary process, which is something I will lead, which it'll just be kind of a simple brainstorming around what Angela mentioned with tiers, and Angela actually already started. So I will obviously, I would really like to loop you in on that, Angela, to make sure.
Yeah, of course.
And
And there are
if,
so many overlaps.
what?
There's so many overlaps what we are discussing for the academy, and I'm happy to contribute.
Yeah. Does anyone else want to be looped in on the boundary process for praise, assuming the incentive alignment proposal passes? Okay, cool. If so, just put in, if you change your mind and you want, just put it in the notes. In fact, I'm not going to ask that question again. If you want in on these things, open that note doc and just put your name down. And then when people come back, they can, we'll see this. So the other action item that comes from this, if the internal comms things starts, is making a token engineering commons medium. Does anyone want to try? Or sorry, Olivia, were you interested in taking that on? I think, right?
Yeah, but I can work with someone too.
I
Yeah.
can help you. Tomorrow we can just do a twofer.
Oh, okay.
Nice. Yeah, the medium would be at least in 2 weeks because it takes on the incentive alignment track of contributions. But we can start, but make an outline tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very easy to set up a medium. You mean like a publication or?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty quick. Takes like 10 minutes or something.
Yeah, I mean, I figure it is somewhat dependent on if the internal comms. I mean, if someone is like, no, it needs to be Ghost or something like that, then that's probably the only thing that would make doing it sooner rather than later a challenge.
It's not a rush. Yeah.
I assume no one's going to object to medium. It's pretty standard. Okay, cool. And then also looking at next week's roles is going to be, once we have the incentive alignment and decision-making process voted on and passed, if those don't pass, then we'll have to it will delay our roadmap, which is okay. But the next step will be creating roles and giving people like agency to start feeling empowered to be part of leading different pieces of this process. So I'm going to try to create a proposal around how we manage a roles process and give people labels like, oh, I'm the legal point person and this kind of stuff. We'll probably need to talk about hierarchy and maybe kind of like a circle of people who might earn the label community stewards, and boundaries around who can lead working groups and this sort of thing. So if and also recruitment, it's going to be a pretty extensive proposal. And might even break up into a couple. If anyone wants to support with roles, I'm more than welcome. I'm more than happy to do a working group. Just say that you want in on this, and in the notes. Is there any other action items that people think we might want to take on next week? Okay. Then, well, I think we should close it out. we did have some questions about like brainstorming questions, but I think we're right on time and we can call it good. Maybe we'll just do a quick round of saying like closing thoughts, just to give everyone an opportunity to comment. Well, thank you guys. I thought this was a good call, very productive, and hopefully we'll keep this momentum rolling. I'll pass it to Olivia.
Yeah, thanks everyone. It did feel very good that new proposals are coming and that there is some excitement to work together. So I'm looking forward to follow up on that. And I'll pass to Angela.
Okay. I love such tight sessions, really enjoyed it. What I'm currently can't find is this document. I was dropping out, and since then I'm looking for the document to where you captured all the notes. Can you pin it to our channel?
Yeah, and I'll send it to you directly in Discord.
Oh, that's a good.
Perhaps it should be findable for everybody at any time. But thank you for sending. Okay, next one. Sorry.
I can go.
David.
Or David, go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So I like the tight sessions also very much. I've been out of the TE community for, I guess, about 4 or 5 weeks. Well, ish. I've been seeing all the amazing updates, and where do you get all the energy from? I feel old already. But with regards to the call, I feel very much up to date, specifically with regards to how proposals are coming. This is exactly what I was talking about, and I'm looking forward to voting tomorrow. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Awesome. Yeah, really appreciate staying within the hour. I think there's a lot of energy and momentum in this community, and really excited to be a part of it. I have the draft proposal for the Aragon conviction funding. I will drop it in the Discord and tag Livia and Jess, and maybe we can do a quick round on that before looping Griff in. Would be lovely to get that up ASAP and get some funds for the early movers in this community. Otherwise, yeah, happy with all the other decisions being made, and we'll jump into some of the other proposals and drop in some comments in the docs. And I will pass it to Andrew. Are you here, Random Shinichi? I guess you came in partway through. We're just doing a checkout round.
Hi guys. Yeah, I'm just lurking here, gonna see like what these C-stake tokens are good for, seeing what you guys are doing with it. Then I'm going back to my code.
Nice. I'll pass it for you. How about to Dan? I took a risk. Dan hasn't talked yet. Dan, figure out how to unmute. Until then, I'll pass it to Jessica.
I really appreciate the lurkers and the silent ones. Thank you so much to Griff and Livy for all the amazing groundwork. I can see how much you're putting into it. So very awesome. Excited for all of it. Feels super good, amazingly tight, very focused, and happy to start jumping into all of these things this week. Are there any other? Let's see. Everybody else went? Doll.
Yeah.
Dollberry. Can I call you Doll for short?
Yeah, sure. That's
DB.
No. I'm just happy to be, I was about to say introduced, but to have joined. I've looked for this kind of community for quite some time after I found out about AMMs and token bonding curves. So I'm just happy to be involved and listen to all you who know so much more than I do, but I hope to surpass someday. So thanks for having me, basically.
Nice. Do you want to pass it to someone? I think Dan found out how to unmute.
Oh, yeah. Let's pass it to Dan, if that's the case.
Yeah. Hi, guys. Yeah. Sorry, I've been lurking, been moving house today, so just been listening into a few calls and unable to chip in too much. But yeah, really tight today. Seems like a lot of progress since a couple of weeks ago when I was last on the call. Really good yeah, really great to be involved, and just like to reiterate what everybody else is saying. It's great to be here, and it's great to be learning across all of the domains. You know, about how you guys organize, how you guys are thinking about governance, and how you guys sort of rationalizing about how to make decisions. It's really great to be here. Cool.
I think Livia still needs to go too, right? Or did you go already, Livia?
No, I went already.
Okay. Does anyone else need to go? We're 9 o'clock on the dot. Thank you, guys. Sorry.
Way.
Yeah. Bye, guys.
Woohoo. Bye.
See you guys. Thanks for the call.
Bye. Message you later.